It's one of my favorite people to have come into EHour. This is the second time doing it. When I look back, I was like, there's no way it's only his second time. I could swear we've had this guy several times over because I always try to get students in front of him as much as I can. Show of hands out there, how many of you are hoping to live past the age of 55? Yeah, right? I know, me too. If that's your goal, he's out there working for you. What you might not be aware of and know is that the rates of cognitive decline are increasing at an incredible pace. 42% of people over the age of 55 will likely experience it. 90% of us will experience it through a loved one or someone else that we know. He is working to solve that problem and to grapple with that with his current startup. But that's just kind of the latest iteration of what he's done in his career. Babak is somebody who is proof that you can make money, pursue your passion, and solve a social ill or a problem that you see. He's doing it. He's done it throughout his career. He's going to share with you insights throughout the spectrum of roles that he's had as an entrepreneur, as a VC, as an inventor, and now as a founder. He won't mention these things because he's an incredibly humble person, as the best entrepreneurs are, so I'm going to mention them for him. He has won Time's Best Invention of the Year twice. He's been named to the national list of most creative people. His work is on display at the London Museum of Computer Science and History. He has the NSF Career Award he's been given, and he's on the board of American Association of Advancement of Science, who have done some incredible work over this past year as it relates to R&D funding. He's also your fellow alum. Please help me welcome Dr. Babak Parviz.
Thank you so much, Eric. Really appreciate the invitation. It's great to be back home. So I love to be back on campus. I mostly lived actually on Central Campus, was hanging out just here on North Campus for years and years. And what's really exciting to see for me is that every time I come back to Ann Arbor, every time I come back to the campus, the university looks better, and we have more interesting things, and the students are getting better. So every generation, I think the students are getting better and smarter. So good for you. So I'm going to tell you just for a few minutes a brief story of what we're up to, and a couple of things that I have learned. But my disclaimer is, I think actually your generation is substantially smarter, and you're going to do a lot better. So just hear my story for the next few minutes as just an example, but I'm sure you'll do substantially better than what I did or what I'm doing. Right now, I'm running a company. It's called newdays.ai that is focused on helping people that have cognitive impairments. So these are people that have MCI, which is a clinical diagnosis, or dementia. You may be familiar with that. And we can show you the statistics of how much this touches people. Unfortunately, I have to say, everybody in this room will be either directly or very closely be touched by these diseases, either yourself or your spouse, your parents, your siblings. So the likelihood of actually dealing with this, unfortunately, is upper 90%. So this is an important issue. And at the moment, there is no treatment for these diseases. So what we set out to do was to change that, to see if we can do something that would push back the symptoms of this disease, and we use artificial intelligence to do that. So I won't go into the details of how we do it, but we've built the system, we've launched it as and offering a treatment in 5 states already as of December, and we have a bunch of patients, and we have the results. Before doing this, as Eric said, I was a VC, so I was placing bets. And before that, I was at a couple of large companies. I was at Amazon, also placing bets, running things. I was at Google, placing bets, running things. I also was at a startup. So I thought I knew a lot of things, and the reality was I wasn't. So I'd launched a bunch of products in the past. We started this company. We launched our product. And very quickly, we learned that many assumptions we've made for how we should go to market were incorrect. So this was definitely also a humbling experience of what it takes actually to go to a new domain, build a product, and try to try to get it to people. And I'm happy to tell you more about it as we sort of go to the fireside chat part of this. As you know, building startups is hard. Every part of it is difficult. You know, you're building new technology that's difficult. You have to work on how you go to market. That's difficult. You have to worry about your financials and recruiting, and so it's never an easy thing. But I would say there is one reason for us to wake up every Monday morning and go to work and be highly motivated. And this is when we see the result in the people that we help and our patients. So I want to show you a quick video of actual patients and actual family members of these patients that have used this AI system to help them with their cognitive impairment. And at the moment, we have actually tremendous results of what it does. So let's see if this video plays.
It works your mind.
It's outside my daily living. It's very expanding because it's not like anything I say or do. Day by day, week by week, month by month. It's like having a conversation with a person because it's responsive.
So when my sister was trying the program, I was surprised that she said so much, that she talked so much. Normally when we have other people around, it's not just us, but there are other people around, she won't talk very much at all. But when when Sunny asked her questions, she just started talking, and she said so much. And a lot of the things she said I had never heard before. It was amazing. It was really shocking to me. I mean, I haven't seen her talk to people the way she talked to Sunny. She said so much more than she would normally say. It was really amazing to me. I think because of the judgment issue. I really think that's a bigger deal than I had thought. I think that when people are talking to Sunny, they don't have that sense of, oh, I wonder what that person's going to think. They just don't worry about it. So a lot more comes out, a lot more information, stories. There's just no judgment. And I even felt that a bit when I talked to Sunny.
This is basically our motivation. So, you know, it kind of justifies all the difficult times that you go through when you try to build something new. And I think different people will find different things meaningful or motivating. So I'm not necessarily saying, you know, you have to have a certain set of values, but I highly recommend that you kind of think about this of what is it that you really care about before you start your entrepreneurship journey. Because it's a hard one, so it's actually good to have goals that are motivating. And for us was to really do well for our patients and their family members. And we're showing the results right now for moving back their disease. So I mentioned that before this, I was in a venture capital firm. And prior to that, in various settings, I've been sort of placing bets. I wanted to briefly talk about the framework of how you might consider what you do and the type of bet that you want to place when you start something new. And that's something that the founder should, I think about. Venture capitalists, for sure, also think about this. There's a spectrum of risk here, starting from the riskiest things that require new science development, and then the next one is things that require new engineering development. Then assuming those problems are solved, then you have product risk. Then you can have a good product that might not be profitable, but even if you have something profitable, it may not scale. So let me give you a few examples, but I encourage you to think about if you're going to do something new, where it is going to live on this spectrum of risk, because it also impacts as you raise funds for your company, what kind of VC you're gonna talk to, because different VCs are tuned more into different sections of this risk spectrum. For the most part, I would say biotech investors are living on the far left in the science part. But you know, as an example, So these are just made-up examples, and I'm sure you have many other examples. If you, for example, wanted to build a new catalytic reaction that would convert CO2 to usable fuel. So grab CO2 from air, go through a new chemical reaction, create jet fuel. That requires a new catalyst and a new catalytic reaction. That catalyst doesn't exist right now. So this idea, if this was your company, this idea has a scientific risk because you have to go figure out the science for that. And I would say many VCs don't have the stomach for this kind of risk. They rather have R&D in a university figure these things out, and kind of they rather come later on in the risk spectrum. Many of you are engineers, so let's look at an example of something that has an engineering risk. Let's say you wanted to build a radar that works at 400 gigahertz. So we already have circuits that work at 300 gigahertz, so we know that we can make circuits that are very high frequency, kind of close to this, but not quite at this point. So a project like this typically would not have a scientific risk, but it has very substantial engineering risk because this is a very, very difficult thing to do and requires new engineering. And many VCs that place sophisticated hardware bets are living sort of in this zone of trying to live with that risk. Because once you solve that, you have something highly defensible, something highly differentiated. You have a good moat, and then you can hopefully have a good business. But solving the engineering problem does not guarantee necessarily that you would have a good product. So the next, assuming that we don't want to take engineering risk, the next one is something that has a product risk. So it has no scientific risk, has no engineering risk. You know that you can build it. The question is, when you build it, is it a good product? Do people want it? Is there a product market fit or not? So here's probably a silly example, but let's say your idea was that you wanted to build a system that essentially works like Uber, but only works in a very hyper-local way. So only works in a neighborhood, maybe uses people in the neighborhood, and then they can drive each other in a sort of peer network way to the grocery store, because vast majority of trips in a neighborhood is to the grocery store. So if you solve that problem for people, there's value to that. So this project is clearly something that you can build. You can build an app that uses GPS, locates people, connects people to the ride. You can build that. But it doesn't necessarily guarantee that it's going to be a good product or not. So we have to kind of think about that, de-risk it to see if this is going to work out or it won't. I would say vast majority of VCs want to place their bets right here in the middle in places that there's product risk. So they rather not scientific risk. They prefer not to take engineering risk. Vast majority of venture capitalists want to live there. So assuming that something can be built, would that be a good product or not? By the way, so you may or may not want to work with that VC. So depending on where you want to be, what you're passionate about, you place yourself wherever you want on this risk spectrum. Now, you can actually build a product, and this could be even a good product, but it may or may not be financially viable. So in order to actually run something that can get to a lot of people and be sustainable, we got to think about the profitability and the financials. So here's another silly example. You may relate to this. So this is my proposed product. So we're going to have room service for if you're in a dorm for your college, or if you're in your housing, university housing, student housing, we're going to offer room service. So we know for sure we can build this. And I bet all of you would like this, because who doesn't actually to get room service to just clean your room and do your laundry and everything else? That would be awesome, right? But is it going to be profitable? How much are you willing to pay for that? What's the labor cost? What's the cost of running this marketplace? So, solving all those problems all the way to there, and even having a product that people love. So that's very non-intuitive. does not necessarily equate to having a successful business. So that was actually very non-intuitive to me, and I'm still actually trying to digest this and learn this, that you can actually, this is obviously a silly example, but there's more interesting, complex examples there that you can actually build something that people really love, but this cannot necessarily become a successful, profitable business. And if it's not a profitable business, it cannot sustain itself financially. It will never grow to substantial size. You can build a profitable business, but that does not necessarily equate to something that can get very large. So here's my last example. Let's say that your business idea was you're in New Mexico or Arizona, and there's shortage of water in different settings there, some for farms, some for industry, some even for residential housing. So let's say your idea was you build a system that delivers water on demand. So there's an app, and you can tap on it, and then you get X number of gallons of water delivered to your location, guaranteed within 5 hours. And I bet there would be some people in Arizona or New Mexico or Southern California that would really like to use that service. So no scientific risk, no engineering risk. Definitely you can build this. People would love the product because they get water, otherwise they don't have access to water. And it could be actually profitable. And you will build this in Arizona, it's great. And then you realize that it would just not scale because nobody in Michigan would use that. Nobody in other places in the US would use that. So even having a profitable business that people love does not equate having a scalable business that can get very, very large. So as you think about starting something new, my suggestion is this is one framework that you can use to see where your idea falls. Where is the core risk of your idea? And based on that, you can figure out what is the best partner that you can find to fund your project. As Eric said, so essentially I'm a technology entrepreneur, and as you think about doing new stuff, I think it's useful to think about what technology entrepreneur is and does, and what is it that it's not optimizing for. So I personally find tech entrepreneurship very exciting because it's a fast-moving game. It's really set out to disrupt the status quo and change some things in a big way. So move things by 10x, 100x, move quickly, change stuff, and hopefully make things better. So this is awesome. But also I have to say that technology entrepreneurship does not necessarily optimize for some other things that are really, really important. So for the most part, I would say, and this is controversial, but I would say as of 2026, as of the end of January 2026, what we see in technology entrepreneurship is not really optimizing for empathy, for the most part. We talked to a majority of technology startups, and empathy and kindness is sort of missing, actually, from how they roll. But that's important, actually, for us individually. That's important for our communities. So who's going to attend to that? Tech entrepreneurship does not really usually optimize for beauty. It does sometimes optimize for really good design, but fundamentally, beauty for vast majority of tech entrepreneurship is not a driving force. But it's important. Art is important. Art is important. Beauty is important for us individually, again, for our communities. And also, as I said, tech entrepreneurship is a velocity game, so you got to move quickly and break the status quo to make it better, so it's disruptive. But it doesn't really optimize for the sense of permanence. Regardless of what entrepreneurs tell you, they're not typically building institutions that would resemble like the University of Michigan. University of Michigan is here today. University of Michigan was here 100 years ago. University of Michigan was here 200 years ago. So people that started this had a sense of building something with permanence that for many generations to come people would benefit. And I think many technology entrepreneurs today, regardless of what they say publicly, they're not really optimizing for that. They're not truly building for the very long term. And those things are actually really important. So this is actually not something against technology entrepreneurship, but what I'm trying to say is that technology entrepreneurship, despite its super awesomeness, is not the only way to go. There's other ways that you can do new things in the world that are equally or even more important than technology entrepreneurship, but you gotta do it. So I would say the last thing I would say is the biggest risk to you is actually not trying entrepreneurship. So my suggestion is not necessarily for everyone to become a tech entrepreneur, but I think all of us should try to do something. As you know, the world around us has a lot of things that are broken, and for a super smart group of people like yourselves, it's really a responsibility to be actively trying to fix it. So sometimes this act of actively trying to fix it is to start a technology company. Sometimes the act of trying to actively fix it is to write a beautiful symphony, and through that actually make the world a better place. Sometimes it's to organize a demonstration and go to Central Campus. I guess demonstration is going on right now. I encourage everyone to go if you would like. We can just end now and go to the demonstration. But to be civically engaged and really care about your country and care about your community and try to make it better. So there's many different ways to be an entrepreneur. It's not just tech entrepreneurship, but I just happen to love tech entrepreneurship. But I respect the other ways that we might engage and try to make things better. So with that, I would like to stop, and then Eric, I'm happy to answer your questions.
Thank you, Babak. Appreciate it. Let's go ahead and grab a seat and kind of like hop back in here. You know, Babak, you really talked about the notion of kind of the spectrum of risk that you've had. As we kind of look back to that spectrum and where to place your bet, it strikes me that your career has really gone this entire spectrum. When you were at Google, when you were at Amazon, and you were being an inventor, it's in the science and the engineering, VC and in product, and then now in profitability and looking at scale. As they're thinking about where they align and where they want to place their bets, let's walk through these. What were the insights that you felt like you picked up from being an entrepreneur and being an innovator at those corporations that you never would have known?
Yeah, so you know, this is, maybe I sort of go through a progression of 3 different places. I used to be a university professor. I was a professor at the University of Washington. And I think that was really the place that I learned the difference between good science and good engineering and what it takes to translate science to engineering. But it really started in earnest when I did this journey when I went to Google. So I was for Google for a few years. And I would say I was pretty naive. I was definitely driven by a particular mission. I loved sophisticated engineering, and Google engineering was amazing at that time. It still is. So I was driving really hard with a particular vision of something I wanted to build, and the sophistication of engineering. So the example is, I don't know if anyone here has heard about this device called Google Glass. Raise your hand if you've heard about this or not. Okay, some people have heard about it. But this was a sort of pioneering device that we were building at Google a bunch of years ago. This was a computer that you would essentially wear on your head, a wearable computer. You have different versions of this in the form of what Meta is doing right now, and to an extent what Vision Pro is. We were really driving at that time towards this vision of how do we empower people to share the world from their point of view with minimum friction, and how do we allow people to access information as fast as possible. So those were the drivers and the vision, and we built all sorts of pretty sophisticated technology to make that happen. So a lot of engineering work there. I completely missed actually the product part. So I really, very naively, never really went and like sat down with people and said, do you really want this? do you resonate with this vision? So we're pushing this vision that, that's what we want to enable. But do you really want it? It's going to be a good product. And as a result, I think I built a product that was actually a bad product. And that was a pretty humbling experience. So the product did not actually succeed, but we built a lot of really cool technology. But that's when sort of I began to learn the difference between a vision and sophisticated technology and a product that's really good.
And in my understanding is that when you were then recruited by Amazon to come over and essentially run the Grand Challenges program and do that same type of science and engineering work, one of the first things you did was you took a bus tour across the country to understand the needs of elderly?
That's one of the things I did. So I'll get to this in a second. Okay. So that's really, so after Google, I went to Amazon. I was there for less than a decade. But I think I tried to learn then how to make a good product that people like. And Amazon has a process for doing that. It's actually a pretty powerful process to be obsessed with, the term is customer obsession, which sounds kind of weird, but to be obsessed with what people want and what the customer need is and really build for that. And yes, we did that. So when I was at Amazon, one of the initiatives we ran was related to the aging population. So yeah, we did I did go to a lot of nursing homes and went across the U.S. and different states and talked to older people, and went to their communities and went to their diners and went to their homes to kind of learn what is it that they really need that they don't have access to. So it was later on in Amazon that I attempted to learn basically how to build a good product. And we actually built some successful product at Amazon, which was kind of interesting. And some of them became big. So right now, Amazon Healthcare generates a few billions of dollars of revenue every year. And some of them did not succeed. And that was interesting because for those products, we actually built something that people loved. So we made it all the way to almost the right side of this. People really liked them, but they were not profitable, or they could not scale. So I'm still trying to learn more on the right side of this risk spectrum of how to do things right. But I think every item on this journey is a bunch of arrows that have hit me. So I'm still trying to improve myself.
Well, you've always struck me as someone who's such a curious innovator. And so the thought that you would make your progression along the spectrum to the right and come through VC to then come back to being an inventor and a founder doesn't shock, and it excites me because of what it is that you're building now. And talk to them about what it was, the experience you had with your father that clued you into speaking and realizing of this market there and the need that was actually in play.
Sure. So my dad had Alzheimer's disease, and so our family had to sort of firsthand experience what happens when cognitive issues arise. So our ability to remember things and our ability to reason about things to a large extent define who we are. So when they start to fade away, we feel that we're fading away. Our loved ones feel that we're fading away, and everything else actually starts to go down from there. So this is really core to who people are, how we perceive ourselves. So I had first-hand experience with my dad. My co-founder's dad also has dementia, so we know this firsthand. But putting those personal experiences aside, when I was at Amazon, Eric mentioned that we did a very long, sort of 1 year long, actually, deep dive into what happens to our older people in the US and then globally, and what problems that we have, what they have. So we surfaced a lot of issues, and unfortunately our older population has many, many issues. But cognition was one of the items that came up. So we spent another period of investigation with a bunch of people and a bunch of investment to understand what happens with cognition and what solutions are available to people when their cognition starts to go down. And the super sort of short summary of all those investigations was that at the moment, basically, there is no solution for people. It's something that's viscerally important for people, really impacts them in a big way, and they have no recourse. If they're even lucky to get diagnosed by an expert, the next step is typically, good luck, live with it. And we really set out to change that.
It set out to change that, and the compounding factors that I've heard and kind of read about is that the shortage of healthcare professionals and of trained professionals who are in a position to treat or work with someone who has dementia or cognitive impairment is nowhere near the need to scale to the patient problem.
Yeah, so that's true, and that's why majority of people don't even get diagnosed. They feel like it's just part of normal aging, and my cognition is not as good as it used to be, which is not true, by the way. So dementia is an actual disease. So some people get it, some people don't get it. For the most part, and then there's a stage behind that that's called MCI, which is another clinical diagnosis. I think the last number I saw was 90-something% of people that have dementia never get diagnosed because they're missed typically in the primary care setting. And if we could actually catch that, there's some stuff that we can do about it, and we can push back the disease, but we just miss the diagnosis for the most part.
So a misdiagnosis, lack of professionals to work with it, and then also cost of care was so high. And so if you're thinking about this, so you can see the graph with the market need and where that grows over time and how there's clearly a demand for some type of solution to be had. So being the innovator that you are and then working with your colleagues, I want to show them a clip of where you talk about what it is that you created with long form and with how AI was changing the ability to solve some of this problem.
Sure. So I was at Amazon when we launched Alexa. Daniel and I were at Google when we built the voice interface for Google, which started with OK Google. So the state of the conversation with an AI system up to very recent times was, what's the time? It's 8:30. That was the end of the conversation. So multi-turn was very difficult. Now, with the advent of the new LLMs, especially ChatGPT, you can have a multi-turn conversation with an LLM, but these are not really optimized to hold a meaningful half an hour long or longer conversation. So one of the core technologies that Dan has built is really to enable a long-form half an hour or longer conversation with an AI system that feels natural and engaging.
So why? Why was that the solution that you came to?
Yeah, so the kind of intervention that we have is a neuropsychological intervention. This involves talking to the person, actually, ideally, every day for a long, long time. And long is typically half an hour, 45 minutes. And these conversations rely on brain plasticity. So this is the fundamental ability of human brain to move function from one part to another part. They rely on brain plasticity to either improve a certain aspect of cognition, for example, memory processing speed, or help people regain some ability that they really want to do something that is meaningful to them. They've lost the ability to do that, so we can help them regain that ability and maintain that for a period of time. Or our ideal case is that we push back their symptoms of the disease by multiple months or multiple years. And we actually have demonstrated that already in our patients. They all rely on brain plasticity. They all rely on very frequent long conversations with the person. Typically, these conversations have to get delivered by a trained professional. So today, if you wanted to do this with a neuropsychologist and talk to the neuropsychologist every day, it would cost you about $150,000 a year per patient. But neuropsychologists are not available. The wait time sometimes to see the neuropsychologist even one time is sometimes 6 months. To just meet that person one time. So they're not available to see you every day. They're not available to talk to you every day to impart these types of therapies. So we knew that if we want to scale these, we need to move the workload to be mostly done by AI. So we needed to have an AI system that could hold a long-form conversation with patients that are going in a particular direction that we want to go. So they have to be engaging, but they also have to go in a particular direction to be therapeutically relevant. So we had to build that from the ground up, essentially.
In going back to what you said about what tech entrepreneurship does not optimize for, one of the things you called out is empathy. That strikes me as very interesting given what you're doing now, where there's a patient who likely is going to forget what they said before, might repeat themselves. There was some of the testimonial videos spoke about the lack of judgment that people experience with the chatbot that's been created. How did you incorporate empathy into the product?
That's exactly what we tried to do. So I would say in general, I made like a sweeping statement that many parts of tech entrepreneurship does not optimize for empathy, but we do. And in past lives also, I've tried to do that at least. So I'll give you another example. So when I was at Amazon, we built a healthcare system from the ground up. And then we launched it across the US. We enrolled a few 100,000 patients in it. But I built it totally from the ground up. So we started from empty room. After some period of time, we had a few 100,000 patients being seen by our healthcare system, which was part virtual, part physical. So you see clinicians, physicians, or nurse practitioners on video, but there was also an on-the-ground logistics component to that. But when we were building that, actually, I made it as a principle that we're going to measure kindness because we have to be kind to our patients. So it's not just about how many patients that we see per hour or per day. It's not about the efficiency of our clinicians. It's not even just about the clinical outcomes, which are obviously super important, but we just have to be kind to people that we see and care for them. So we try to actually make that operationally part of our operation. It was very controversial, and some people did not like that, but we did put it in there. And as a result, people that were using that system were pretty happy to do that.
How did you do that with Sunny? What does that mean in real terms to bring empathy into the AI?
Yeah, so Sunny is our AI agent that people talk to. It's actually a complex system because it's made of not a single model, it's made of multiple models and many, many agents. So kind of, sorry for throwing the technical terms here. But, and these models are, some of them are trained by us, and they're tuned by clinical trial results, clinician feedback, human clinician expert feedback, and patient information. So we've basically tried to make this as a principle that we're extending the right answers to people. So that's incorporated into the models. And we measure that all the time, by the way. So
it's fascinating. And so this notion of empathy, I think we all collectively feel as though there's a need for more empathy throughout society, throughout the products we use, throughout the companies we engage with, the services that we use, et cetera. As we're talking about that, it's no secret that there's a lot going on in the country and there's a lot going on in the campus that might be helped by being more empathetic. Babak is someone who's in a unique position to maybe speak on that as someone who wasn't born here and who came here and became an entrepreneur. The story of immigration in America, as you heard from Mitch talk about last week, about Americans versus Americans, this is fundamental to entrepreneurship as well. This is part of that fabric. What does America mean to you, Babak?
I would say when I came to Ann Arbor, I barely spoke English. I'm still, as you can see, I'm still working on it, so the accent. But I barely spoke English, and what really was striking for me was how welcoming everyone was. Like from day one when I came here, I felt at home. It was incredible. Like how open the American society was to this random foreign person that just arrived with a couple of suitcases, barely spoke English, and made that person to be at home. It was incredible. And Michigan has always been like that for me. I hope, I'm not nobody important, but my hope is that I can do a little bit, hopefully, in the future for Michigan. Just give whatever I can, the little I can, to give back to the university and this community in the state, because they create such an amazing home for me and kind of set me up basically for my journey later on. That was the America for me. And hopefully we can keep it like that.
Well, I think you're doing a lot by being here. Keep and continuing to look at the past. 12 years ago, when you were inventing Google Glass and bringing this to the world, something that was a new innovation, a new science, but to Babak's point earlier, was a product that maybe wasn't the right fit just yet. I'm curious to know what you would say to this guy who's talking in 2014 with these brief remarks.
I have a question. Instead of you having the question, knowing that you have to go grab the answer from somewhere and come back and look at it, you get the answer back so fast that you feel you know it that fast. So sub-second, basically. Very, very fast. And that makes a material difference in what you feel you know. It actually may change the meaning of knowing things.
Changing the meaning of knowing things because you're getting answers so fast. 2014. That is a novel thought in 2014. That is not the experience you're having today. Looking back in hindsight, what would you say to that person?
So I actually still care about access to information, open access to information, rapid access to information, and hopefully valid information. I would say compared to that person in the video, I have had some evolution since then. The device I'm wearing on my head, that's a Google Glass. I wore it for multiple years. Gave me quick access to digital content, search, news, texting, sharing video, all that. I definitely don't think that's actually a good thing anymore. There is something about digital pollution, and maybe we're actually overdoing it. I still love search, and so here's the reason I'm so excited about this generation that's sitting in the room over there. So my daughter's going to kill me, actually, when I say this, because I'm quoting my daughter without her permission right now. But so that my daughter belongs to me, a little bit younger than people who are sitting in this room. But I just had a recent conversation with her, and she had taken, actually, Chrome out of her phone. And I'm like, how can you possibly do that? Because I search for stuff all the time. It's so awesome to be able to, like, you have a question in your head, and then you search, and you get the links, and you click on it, or whatever. And she's like, yes, but maybe, actually, it's OK for me not to know the answer at that very moment. I'll just wait until I'm behind my computer. But me not actually fragmenting my time all the time by this digital interaction would allow me to think deeper and be in the moment. And that was actually a lesson I learned from my daughter, that there is a new generation sitting right there, and she included, that is deeply thinking about how they engage the digital world. They deeply think about how they engage with other human beings, and they deeply think about how they engage with their physical world. And they're very thoughtful about it, and probably our generation over-indexed a little bit too much on going all digital, always good, and they're recognizing that there's other ways to do things, and perhaps there are better ways to do things.
So much of what we're trying to do each week is take the insights and the wisdom that are gained over the hard-fought entrepreneurial careers of people like Babak and give it to you in hopes that you take a path that's a little bit informed by that can make the world a little bit better. But that doesn't mean they were always successful or they're any different than you are. You talked about a favorite study spot you had on campus that, just like you guys, he was up there in Rackham?
Yeah, I used to hang out there because it's such a beautiful, beautiful building, and just learning physics there was just like bliss for me. But actually, one of the interesting, I actually didn't tell you, Eric, but one of the interesting things that happened between one time on Central Campus, because I was taking a class, sometimes I actually hung out in undergrad library, and then I would go to East Quad to take East Engineering to take classes. So I was hanging out there, and I do remember one time I was taking a thermodynamics class, and I just stepped outside the building. This is in Central Campus, and there was a big group affiliated with a particular religion, and they had a big sign that thermodynamics is not going to save you. And they had no idea that, the thermodynamics class was going on there. I was like, wow, this is really interesting. I guess thermodynamics is not going to save me. But thermodynamics is awesome, by the way, so definitely learn it. But yeah, so I was hanging out in Rackham. Mostly I hung out actually in Central Campus, North Campus.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think we all can recognize Central Campus has a certain magic. But that doesn't mean he was studying all the time. You skipped a lot of class to play soccer. Yeah?
Yeah, how did you make that actually? Is that so, AI, there you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right, skip a lot of class, play soccer. And as I've told you each week, I want to give you a sense of a book recommendation or a podcast recommendation that each guest kind of has for you. You talked about Build by a fellow alum, Tony Fidel.
Oh yeah, so I don't know, you guys probably know Tony, great product of Michigan. He's written this book. It's a fairly recent book. And I would say it's kind of rare for me to be like 100% aligned with the book, but this is, I would say 90-something% I'm basically aligned with what Tony is saying in this book. It's a fantastic book if you want to start a hardware startup. Like basically everything that he says is exactly what I would tell you as a suggestion. So it's a really, really good book.
Tony's the inventor of the iPod, and we're actually talking with him about maybe coming back on campus here soon again. And then, last but not least, if you weren't doing what you're doing now, you've talked about working in nuclear fusion.
Yeah, so this is super exciting. It's pretty clear that in previous roles, as I've kind of looked at this a little bit, many things, or nearly everything that we do relates to energy. So the conversation about energy obviously is very prominent right now in the AI domain because of the energy need of data centers that run these AI models. But even putting that aside, pretty much everything that you see around yourselves is in some form powered or empowered by energy. So from the lights on here, we have water to drink because of energy. We have food to eat because of energy. Transport, obviously, energy. Everything is really driven by energy, and it's pretty clear that burning fossil fuels, even if you're not caring about climate, at some point we're going to run out of it. So this just basic sort of mass conservation laws is not going to cut it, even if you don't care about the climate impact. So we need something else. And in terms of radically new ways of creating energy, so I'm a big fan of solar and wind, both of them. They've been really great. They have been transformational in Europe, at least, and even in Texas and California. But there's really only one candidate, and that's fusion. And what's really interesting about fusion is that, funny enough, there is no scientific risk there. We know that fusion happens. But it's a massive, massive engineering risk because nobody has actually figured out how to really make it work. And so hopefully somebody will do that because we really need it.
So consider that for potential avenue for your future career. Have a great weekend, everybody. See you next week.
Thanks, everyone.